before Elliot gets on, let's do David Lives. David lives! David lives! David lives! David marijuana! Okay, Elliot.
Up against the wall.
Hi everybody. My name is Elliot Wien, although David blessed me with another name.
What was that name?
Well, he called Dean Wien.
Oh, Dean Wien.
The reason he calls me Dean Wien because I do know a lot about music, and he says I'm the Dean of rock and roll. This is David, not me. This is what David calls me. So ever since, yo, Dean, how are you? Everything is Dean, Dean. I'm like, Dean. Sometimes I have to like had to look, who's he talking to? And then, oh, it's me. But I met Dave about 30 years ago. I used to be the night manager at Colony Records. I know a lot of people know Colony Records. One night, Dave comes walking in, and I knew who he was, so as he's walking down the aisle towards me, I says, "Hey, I know who you are." He goes, "Who am I?" I said, "You're David Peel." He goes, "Prove it." I'm like, "Prove it?" He goes, "Name my songs." So then I started naming the Post Smoke Stove, Have a Marijuana.
He was in shock, right?
And he goes, "I'm David Peel." Well, ever since he said he was David Peel, I've been on a 30-year journey. I feel like a spaceship came down and just took me away for 30 years. Because in the 30 years, I met a lot of the people in this room. And I have to thank him for that because all of you are great friends of David, and I'm really proud to know a lot of you. It wasn't not an easy situation losing someone who you've hung out for 30 years. Concerts, movies, going to dinner, going to events, going to Woodstock. This endless amount of things that we've done together. So it was tough. I was with Dave when he passed on. I was standing by his bedside, holding his hand, and everyone in the room had something nice to say about Dave. And then the priest came in, read him his last prayers, and the lady came in, she starts shutting off the life support equipment. And I said, "Can I say one more thing before you shut off the equipment to my friend David?" David loved the Beatles. He was friends with John Lennon. So I asked if I could just say a lyric from one of their songs. And she said, "Sure." So I'm holding David's hand, and I'm saying, "Dave, and in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make." And David loved all of you and a lot of people. And then she shut off the equipment and Dave passed on. And I started singing Have a Marijuana, and everybody in my bedside in the hospital was singing Have a Marijuana. Into Let My Life Live in Freedom, which was started in the room by Joff Wilson. We started singing that, then we started singing that, and then we just all left. But it was a journey, I'm going to tell you. 30-year trip. It was the best LSD that... And I just want to thank you all for coming and recognizing Dave. And I'll see you in the Lower East Side. A friend of mine, Anthony Rodriguez from the group The Accelerators. Also in Dave's band, played many times with Dave, part of the Lower East Side. Him and his band actually wrote a song about David Peel, and I just want him to tell you the lyrics. Well, I'm not going to have him sing it to you, but just read the lyrics to you so you're familiar with the song. Thank you, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Just before I read these lyrics, I just want to say how touched I was by David Field. He always made everyone feel included, no matter what age, whether you're a musician or not. He inspired people. He inspired me to write music, to believe in myself, and to believe in many kinds of people of all walks of life. It was very hard to hear when David had his attack, and I know he will forever be a part of everyone that knew him. And all of us who have known him will be part of him, wherever we may be. And with that, I'll read these lyrics. I wish I could be, sorry. I wish I could be like David Peel. Oh yeah.
John,
Wear glasses like John Lennon. Sing all day in the park. Live down in East Manhattan. Lead a marijuana march. I wish I could turn back time and live my life in the turbulent 60s. I wish I could play at Woodstock and hang all day with the radical hippies.
Pass him on, sign it.
I wish I could be like David Peel. Give your finger to the government. Smoke a joint in cops' face. Be anti-establishment. Enemy of the state. I wish I could burn my draft card and protect the war in Vietnam. I wish I could hold a peace sign, hold hands with my brothers, and shout, ban the bomb. I wish I could be like David Peel. I wish I could be like David Peel. Oh yeah. Thank you.
Pardon me. Excuse me. Hello, fellow degenerates. I think most of you know me.
Who are you?
John Holmstrom. I founded Punk magazine. Shortly after that, I met Tom Forsad. And I ended up working at High Times, and one of my early stories was to research the life of Tom Forsad. So one of my favorite stories about Peel was The Caravan of Love. It became a movie called Medicine Ball Caravan, and Forsad decided to disrupt this. He was very upset that Warner Brothers, corporate rock was taking over the music, so he hired David to disrupt the Caravan of Love. Got his hands on a huge black Cadillac limousine, which is very reminiscent of the Deathmobile from Animal House. He liberated some speakers from an air raid shelter, so he had the world's biggest sound system.
There's a book out about that.
And there's been books called.
We'll come to your doors.
Well, there's another one called The Caravan of Love and Money that Forsad wrote. Great book. Forsad was a great mind. So anyhow, Forsad ended up saving David's life on the tour, because Warner Brothers, as usual, hired these Nazi biker types to be security. One of them got very pissed off and pulled a knife on David. Forsad decked him, and Peel was forever grateful. And Danny Field spoke earlier. I'm not sure if you all know who he is.
Yes.
But there's a movie out called Danny Says about his life. And the same year he discovered David, he also discovered Iggy Pop, the Stooges. MC5.
David and I actually went to the premiere of that. Dave and I went to that.
Yeah, so David definitely has punk roots. So I got to know David really well over the years. I started the High Times Bong Hitters softball team. And David was a really good first baseman, believe it or not. And let's see, last time I saw David was for an interview for a book. Someone's writing a book about Forsad. And incidentally, I hear there's also going to be a film
About
of some kind about Forsad. Wow. So David will live on. Want to deliver that good news. Anyhow, last time I saw him, as usual, he reminded me that his proudest accomplishment was that his batting average was .420.
Joe, go up.
That was good, man.
If you stand toward the middle, the light is better. I get a better shot of your
Stay in the
face.
center.
To the center. Stand in the
Stay in
center.
the center.
In the center. No.
Thelma, is he good now?
Okay, yeah, better. Good, good. No, more toward the center. Good. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I
All right.
first met David. We used to go see him I'm Concert Joe. I first met David. He used to play at Mills Tavern in the late 70s on Bleacherman Thompson with David Peel and Death, like every Tuesday night for a year or so. So we used to always go there and see him. Met him a little bit. He really didn't know me then. When I really got to know him was High Times had a party at a suite at the New Music Seminar. I think it was around 92. And I really got to know David then. I've been to him, went to about 30 concerts with him. Elliot probably took him to 100. He really liked music too, mostly classic rock and stuff. He considered himself the fifth Beatle. But I remember a funny story. About 5 years ago, I got a pension check. I just went on and I got a nice big check. So I told David, I want you to meet me at Guitar Center. I want you to pick out a guitar for me. So we went there. It was a bullshit sale. They had 10,000 guitars, 5 of them were on sale. But I said, I want to get a Martin. So couldn't get a real one, but there was like a cheaper line. Cheapest one was 800. I said, you think this is good? He said, yeah. So I bought it. I said, David, this is for you. He said, yeah, sure. He didn't believe it. Took him an hour before he would actually take it, believed it was for him. And he's walking home with it. I said, it's really yours. One of his friends told me the next day he brought it back and got the money. Well, I just want to tell you, I saw him do magic one time. He wouldn't talk about this. I remember people at High Times, Normal, other people interviewed. He wouldn't say nothing about it. He'd never speak of it. But me and him were at the South Street Seaport in 2007. And in the summer, and I said, let's go to China. We had a concert. I said, let's go to Chinatown. I'll treat. So we're walking along there. I said, I haven't smoked a doobie in Manhattan in 7 years. I got a real big one. Let's find a secluded street. So we're walking down the street. It's all dark, a big building, no windows. We're lighting it. We're smoking. We're going past the big wall. We see like 20 guys on a ledge with suits. We couldn't see their heads with their back to us. Another 20, 30 guys with black suits walking ahead like that. I said, what's this, a wedding hall? It looks like a crappy brick building. And like in Planet of the Apes, when Charlton Heston looked up and saw the Statue of Liberty, me and David look up and we see the big giant letters, Police Headquarters. And there was at least 50 cops around us with their backs to us, within 50 to 150 feet. And nothing happened. I put it out, we started praying. He got away from me and he wouldn't speak to me the rest of the night. He said, I thought you were trying to commit suicide. He said, even like Abby Hoffman and Jerry Rubin, they wouldn't have walked up to police headquarters with a big doobie with 100 cops there. It had to be a miracle that we didn't get busted, so Peel had the magic. So that's something to remember about.
Who else would like to say?
A lot of people.
This is really good. This is really, really good.
What's your name? Hey, my name is Walter. I met David when I was a freshman.
Okay, stand under the light and
Oh, I'm sorry.
under the light.
Over
Right.
here?
That's right. That's good.
I brought all my David Peel memorabilia. I've been digging around all day for it.
Okay.
I met David back in 1983 when I was a freshman at Brooklyn Tech High. And a friend of mine knew this guy. He's like, hey, you got to meet this guy, David Peel. David Peel? Who's David Peel? Oh, he used to play with John Lennon. So, we met with him, and he was great. He invited us back to his place in the East Village, and I remember being in this apartment, this small apartment filled with posters and albums and all this stuff. He was talking about John Lennon, and I just thought, this guy's amazing. And he was so crazy looking, I thought anybody that would make my parents literally stick their heads in an oven if they knew that I was hanging out with, it's got to be good with me. I remember hanging out with him, and what a sweetheart he was. I never met anybody that was just so kind and was just so open to talking to people. And he was always talking about Rock and Roll University. Oh, we got to start this Rock and Roll University. We're going to teach people how to rock and roll, and we're going to teach them how to do business. And I thought it was brilliant. And he said to me, I want you to help me with it, and I also want you to be my salesman. He said, I'm going to give you the territories of Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. I want you to sell my records. I was like, oh, gee, that's so generous of you. So I go to my friends, I'm like, hey, you got to buy this guy's stuff. And, they'd be like, oh, okay, And then the next day they'd be like, I want my money back. I don't know, what's wrong with you? And David I kept on pushing his stuff at school. People would literally run away from me whenever they saw me because I'm carrying all these records of his, but I ended up buying most of his stuff, and I was like, I didn't care. I'm like, I only have like $5, but I got his Have a Marijuana album, I have his Pope Smokes Dope, I have tapes and stuff, and once he sat down with me and he said to me, hey Walter, I'm going to teach you how to write a book. You're going to learn how to write a book. I'm like, that's great. He's like, well, sit down. First you get a book, and then you number the pages in the book. Then you start writing in the book. And I'm like, what? And for an hour, he's showing me how he numbers each page in this blank book, and then he just starts writing it. And he's like, this is how you write a book. I'm like, okay, David, that was, whatever you say, David.
Are you a graduate of Rock and Roll University?
We never started it. I was talking about, I guess I was.
I am.
Are you?
Yeah, I have a diploma.
Do you? Yeah, no, I didn't sell enough records to become a graduate, so.
The dean signed.
What's your
Signed
name?
all the diplomas.
Oh, did you?
You're about to be-
What's your name?
Walter
Walter.
Ochner.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I didn't sell enough albums to make him happy, so. But he was the kind of guy that, you go to anywhere you went with him, he could talk to street people, he could talk to the most incredibly intelligent people. We had Hot Dogs and Beans with Professor Federico Tacci, the NYU teacher of political science and stuff, and we talked politics with this guy eating hot dogs and beans at a diner, and he could have the most incredible conversations with people, and he was just such a lovely, lovely man, and it was such a shock to me when I found out that he passed, because even though the village changed a lot this last decade, and it's not what it used to be, the fact that he was always around was always like that constant. And you always felt, okay, but he's still around, so, it's okay. But it's like this last piece of the village now is gone in my heart. And I love the man, and I only wish that I could have seen him again, before this happened. But they say that a measure of a man is by the people that he's friends with, and he's obviously loved by a lot of people, and so he obviously was a very, very great man. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes. Walter.
Are you rude? Oh my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Danny Cohen. How you doing? Because of David Peel,
Who are you? Tell us again.
my name is Danny Cohen. Okay, because of my meeting up with David Peel, I made friends with a girl named Nina Cranton, whose father used to work for MCA Records. Nina set me up with a blind date with a woman who eventually became my wife. Okay, and now I'm a grandpa. We were married for 30 years. And when it's David Peel, there are children that are walking around that wouldn't have happened. Okay, that's one story. Another story. With David Peel, Washington Square Park, David used to do a lot of incredible things. He stepped out of a phone booth and he goes, I just gave a lecture to 30,000 people at an anti-war rally for 30,000 people at a college in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I'd be like, wow. Another time, we were standing out. He was in Washington Square Park, and David just say, tomorrow I'm going to be up on stage. I'm going to be with John Lennon and Yoko Ono. I said, I'll peel you full of it. You're ranting again. I said, okay, I'll prove it to you. Next day, Fillmore East, rehearsals for the one-to-one benefit at Fillmore, and for 5 days, I was a backup singer over there. Okay, and I had the worst case. That was my first professional gig singing. And for 5 days I was at this rehearsal, and I had no voice by the time I was finished. I couldn't whisper at all. My voice was gone. Okay, but he proved it, and then Bob Gruen has a few photographs of me and Peel out there on the stage as backup singers. Okay, another story. My friend Steve heard about it. But you know what you're gonna miss. Okay, one time I was over at David Peel's house, my first time there, at 209 East 5th Street. Okay, the place smelled vaguely of gas leaks and urine. You have my drawing got an accurate picture now. I went up there. We've been singing in the park for a while. He invited me over for dinner. There was a table in the middle of the room, in the middle of the living room, with no legs, cushions on the floor. Okay, the ceiling had a parachute nailed to the ceiling, so it looked like you were walking around in a sheik's tent. Okay, it was totally surreal. Okay, so he had to take a phone call. He walked out of the room. He had books. Well, books all over his main living room. So I randomly pulled out one of these books, and I looked at it. The name of the book was Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And I looked at it, and it talked about how people should react to it. It was a book that described how you deal with crises, how you improve yourself, how you turn failures into opportunities, stuff like that. And I'm looking at the books, and I'm going to think to myself, how does a guy like that have a book like this? You know, but the name Maxwell Maltz stuck in my mind, because at one time I went around looking for answers, and I remember this book. And I went to the library and I said, do me a favor, you got this book? I'm going to put it on hold. There were 4 people ahead of me that wanted that book. So I said, the hell with this. I'm going to Barnes & Noble. I bought the book. Okay? Talking about, we fast forward to August of last year. Strawberry Fields. I'm playing with a guy named Billy. I'm helping him out. We're singing together. I hear the word Peel is coming. I know because I see Mike is coming. If I see Mike, I know David's going to be around. Okay? So I said, watch this. I had the book in my bag. Okay? I took the book and I just put it on the bench. Out in plain sight. With the cover intact, you recognize it, you know exactly what it is. He came around, and hi Dave, how you doing? We did you get that book? I said, Dave, I knew about this book because I know you had this book. And I have a picture, it's still on my phone, of him paging his way to the book like he's meeting an old friend. Okay, and that was the last time I saw David. Remember the book? I'm not paid to plug this book, but it's a good read. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz.
It's a well-known book.
Yeah, but that's
How long ago was that?
Huh?
How long ago was that? When did that happen?
This happened when I met David in 1972. He was just finished doing Mari Soul.
Oh.
He had just finished doing the Mari Soul Festival. Okay, and
Puerto Rico.
yeah, that's my story about the book. Now you got it. Have a good night.
Next victim.
What we thought he'd come down to this, right? What's your name, please? My name is Arthur Stevens. As a kid, I was always inspired by David's music, you know, especially Up Against the Wall, motherfucker, you know, it was just something that hit us all like a diamond, right between the eyes. No, really, I mean, you're up against the wall, you are up against the wall. You're trying to fucking fight back and trying to make all this stuff happen, and there's never a fucking winning situation. So, I wrote an original version of Up Against the Wall, motherfucker, but I used David's hook. So I said, but before I do this, let me talk to David Pugh. Let me talk to him and see if it's okay with him, you know? So I got in touch with David, and he said, yeah, come on down, come and see me. So I met him, we got together. I had a little cassette player, I played him the song, he was laughing, he says, yeah, it's all good. He says, let me tell you something. He says, the guy that wrote fucking Peanut Butter, he says, I did the same thing. He said, I went to see him, and I told him that I wrote Marijuana, and he started singing the lyrics to the song. He said he was dumb laughing. He says, David, do whatever you want to do with the song. He says, and I'm telling you the same thing. Do whatever you want to do with it. And to me, that's what it's all about. I mean, it doesn't get any better, right? God bless David Pugh.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter.
I want to get stoned. I like it a lot. But here comes my father, the marijuana.